a Wyoming Republican senator, big influence in leadership. John Barrasso is the chairman of the Senate Policy Committee. How do you think this is going to go, Senator?
Well, Neil, we're going to vote to reopen the government after the Schumer shutdown. It's turned, of course, into the Schumer surrender because the strategy they had from the beginning was very misguided. You don't shut down the government and the nation's security and services for American citizens in order to provide services and security for non-citizens. The American people were never going to buy that. We're going to reopen the government today.
All right. Now, I noticed that what's being done now is what was envisioned in the beginning, taking up DACA immigration reform down the road, I guess, in the next few weeks, if not a little further. This keeps the government going for another few weeks, potentially a little further. But how did we get here?
Well, we got here because the Democrats refused to realize that this is something we were working on from the beginning. We were working on this in a bipartisan way, both the House and the Senate, to deal with this issue of young people who were brought to this country illegally, but at a very young age. And what I'm hoping that the president does during the State of the Union next week is addresses this issue and says, I will sign a bill to prevent the deportation of these young people as long as I get the things that the American people are asking for, which is security at our southern border, which is an E-Verify system that works, which is an immigration system based on not a diversity lottery, but based on the skills that individual workers have
Senator,
who want to bring to the country. That's what we need to do.
It sounds like we could risk some problems again, right? Because Mitch McConnell was willing to hold a vote on these other immigration measures, including DACA, as long as Democrats agreed to reopen government. That appears to be the case. But everyone has to be on the same page on these issues, or could we indeed face this yet again?
Well, that's why I say the president has an opportunity next week during the State of the Union to talk about what he's willing to sign and how people can work together in a bipartisan way, both the House and the Senate, to come to a solution that provides the national security we want, the border security, the issue of reforming chain migration, and he can lay out to the American people what is a sensible plan consistent with what he's campaigned upon. And I think that will solve the problem between now and the date when we hit this next day, February 8th, where this resolution from today expires.
You know, a lot of people look at this, Senator, understand the anomaly here of having the Democrats who need their votes, certainly in the Senate, for this type of thing. But they also marvel at the fact that, Republicans do run the show. You have all branches of government. You knew about this approaching deadline. You knew about all of this stuff a long time ago, and everything was a scramble in the last minute. So doesn't this look just as bad for Republicans?
Well, I don't think so. I think the American people, and the calls certainly we've gotten from Wyoming, are saying, why would anyone shut down the government when the things that are so critical are in this bill, like funding the children's health care plan, funding services for our veterans, for our military, for the current members of the military who are serving our country and keeping us safe and keeping us free. So what the American people did not understand is why we would ever shut down the government for services for people who were not here as citizens and take that priority over people who were citizens. So this shutdown stopped funding for the issues of the opioid crisis. So you cannot stop those things. You need to continue on those things. You need to have a mature governing body keeps the government open, doesn't stand out like the Chuck Schumer and the Democrats did and said, if we don't get our way on everything, we're going to shut down the government. It is completely irresponsible.
Well,
the strategy they had was wrong.
Fairly or not, that was the rap against Republicans, and Ted Cruz inspired shutdowns a little more than 4.5 years ago, right?
Well, I voted against that shutdown then. I voted against this shutdown today. I think a mature, responsible governing body keeps the government open, continues to work on problems. And this issue of immigration is an issue we've been working on in a bipartisan way for quite some time with both the House and the Senate. I think we can get a resolution in the near future, and I hope the president addresses it in the State of the Union.
We shall see. Senator, thank you very much for taking the time. We'll see how this vote goes
in
a little bit. That vote